Hey guys, Sarah Halina here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the mysterious Benedict Society. So, stay tuned. Okay, so I finally got around to watching the mysterious Benedict Society, and I have some thoughts. So first I'm going to go into my non-spoiler thoughts. Then I'm going to go into what I'm going to call minor spoilers. We'll get to that later. And then I'm going to go into my full-blown spoiler thoughts. Yeah. There's timestamps in the description down below if you just want to skip to, a certain part. Okay. So this show is an adaptation of the book series by Trenton Lee Stewart. And to be honest, I'm not sure how well it does at adapting it, since I haven't actually read the series. I went to look online at how much it was for the series, and it was like $60, and I'm like, nope. So, yeah, if you've read the series and watched the show, let me and others out there know how good of an adaptation this show is. Yeah, you can do that in the comments down below. Basically, the premise of the show is there is a global emergency, and Mr. Benedict recruits 4 orphan kids to stop it. That's it. The show has some really good episodes and some not so good episodes. I think the show starts out really strong. Within like the first couple episodes, Mr. Benedict and the kids are working to figure out exactly what's going on and how they're going to stop it. But the middle, like the good chunk of the middle, is a little tedious, and it's just basically the kids being already aware of what's going on, and they just have to figure out how to stop it. The conversations can get somewhat repetitive. Yeah, I think if they could have shortened, the episodes to be, half hour to 45 minutes instead of 50 plus minutes. Or if you wanted to keep it 50 plus minutes, cut it down from 8 to 6. I feel like there's just a good chunk of the middle that's just like, we're kind of repeating what we already said before. Yeah. Then in the final episodes, things really start to pick up. And it should be a strong finish, but it's just meh. It's not great. It's not horrible. It's just somewhere in the middle. It's just okay. It does leave the door open for a season 2, but I'm filming this on September 22nd, 2021, and there is no word yet on whether or not there is a season 2. I'm really hoping that we do get a season 2, though, because even though this first season was just sort of okay, it was enjoyable on some level, and I think that there is room for this show to grow to become great. Yeah. So now I'm going into minor spoiler warnings, okay? So basically I'm going to be talking about certain things that happen in the show, but I'm not going to necessarily be going into plots, and I'm going to try to be as vague as possible. Hopefully I succeeded that. But basically the only reason I'm doing this is because, this is a family-friendly show. Kids can watch it, adults can watch it, type thing. But there are some things that may factor into whether or not you want to tune in or not. Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to know anything, stop here and go watch it. But yeah. Like I said, I'm going to try to be as vague as possible. I will be giving episode numbers and some things that may make you consider whether or not to watch it yourself or let young children watch it. Okay. So, episode 2 has a raid on a house. It can be a little intense, but no actual violence takes place. Yeah. Then in episode 7, one of the kids is trying to escape a chase by older kids and adults. It may upset some young children seeing a kid get chased by more intimidating people. That plot somewhat carries over into the final episode, episode 8. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully I didn't ruin it for people by going into it, but I just wanted to go into that because, you know, it is rated PG. But like I said, there is some things that could be a little intense for younger children. Yeah, so I figured I'd touch upon some of those intense things and yeah. Anyways, now I'm going to be going into spoiler thoughts. So I'm going to be spoiling things that happened in the show. So if you haven't seen it yet, go watch it, come back here, all that. So right out of the gate in the first episode basically has all these kids taking a test, right? And we're really following Rainey in the first, chunk of it. And, you know, he's the only one that's passing and moving on to the next test. A lot of people didn't like that, but I actually really kind of enjoyed it. It was kind of funny, and it got really funny, when it was just, constantly just him. And then, you know, he's, connected with some other people that were taking different tests, and they were the only ones that passed their versions of tests. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, I think. I really did enjoy it, and I like that it was different tests, and it was testing more for cleverness rather than just knowing information and being able to put it on paper. Yeah, because Mr. Benedict knew that the kids were going to have to be clever to stop the emergency, and yeah, so he found the cleverest of the kids. Another thing I really enjoyed was the kids' dynamics with each other. I mean, Rainey, Sticky, Kate, Constance, yeah, they're essentially strangers to each other. And the only thing that they have in common was that they were orphans who were specially gifted. And they were gifted in different ways. But they also knew that while they didn't know each other too well, they knew that they had to rely on each other to infiltrate the Institute. When Constance and Kate are struggling in classes, Rainey and Sticky, they work together with them to try to help them so that they don't get booted off the island and have their minds wiped. And it doesn't necessarily work with Kate, and she almost gets her mind wiped, but she's saved by Martina, who wants her to join the tetherball team. And I also really love that dynamic between the two of them. Like, Kate was kind of using Martina because she was a messenger. But she ended up developing a friendship with Martina and in the end confesses to, stealing her key card type thing. And she does that so Martina doesn't have to get her brain swept. Yeah. Now, the twist that Milligan is Kate's father, who had his memories, swept, was a fun one, even though it was obvious. I think by episode 3 or 4, I started thinking that might be what was happening. But nonetheless, it was still great, in the final episode, when Milligan's remembering bits and pieces of his past as a scientist, working for Dr. Curtin, and having his brain swept. That was fun. But, the moment that, Kate has to get up to the tower to help, the rest of her team, and he, calls out to her, and he calls her Katie Cat, and just the look on her face, it's like, that's my dad. I haven't seen him since I was 3 or whatever it was. And the whole time she thought that her dad abandoned her, and it was in that moment that she realized that he didn't abandon her, he just couldn't remember her because he got his memory erased. And it was really, really sweet to see. But there was a twist that wasn't so great, and I think really kind of, I don't want to necessarily say ruined, because, it was still fun. It was still a fun show, but it kind of took away from the show a little bit, my enjoyment of the show a little bit, was that Dr. Curtin was the villain and Mr. Benedict's twin brother. Overall, that twist could have been great if it wasn't revealed at the end of episode 2 and also in the trailers. Why? Why did they do that? I think, that if Dr. Curtin wasn't shown at all until the end of episode 6, maybe I would have liked it a little bit more. And it would have also helped the show out in those middle episodes where things are just kind of dragging out. Think about it. Okay, so these kids know that the Institute is where the signal for the emergency is coming from. But not only do they have to figure out how to stop it, but they have to figure out who is behind it. And we as the audience are also trying to figure out who's behind it, because we're seeing a whole bunch of sketchy people. Everybody in this school is very sketchy. So we're trying to figure out, okay, who's behind it type thing. And, then at the end of episode 6, let's say, we discover that there is a man who looks pretty much like Mr. Benedict, just a little bit more put together. And that he is the one behind the emergency. And then, in episode 7, we can get, the flashback to Mr. Benedict and Dr. Curtin in the orphanage, and learn why Dr. Curtin is so angry at, the world. I just think that having all the answers by the end of episode 2 made the rest of the season kind of drag on, and I think had they spread out the information that we got amongst the 8 episodes, it would have been a little bit better. But yeah. The setup for season 2 is there. Dr. Curtin escapes with his scientist and his adopted son, and apparently she has bigger plans for him. She's like, no. You wanted to control the world and control their thoughts. How about this? and we don't actually see what it is. And yeah, the kids are separated. Rainey is going to live with his teacher, who for some reason I cannot remember her name. Yeah, anyways. Then Kate, she's reunited with Milligan, her dad. Sticky is going to attend the actual Boat Ride Academy, which they were supposed to be taking this test for. And Constance is living with Mr. Benedict, even though she doesn't want to get adopted by him. So, yeah, with Curtin still out there, apparently having a bigger plan, I can see that, I can see a situation where the kids would come back together to stop him once and for all. I don't know. I think there's room for a season 2. I really hope that we get it. Honestly. Because, overall, this show was a fun, family-friendly show. Yes, it was somewhat predictable. Yes, it got somewhat tedious at times. But it was a fun show overall. And I think the possibility of becoming a great show once they sort of find a rhythm, would be really good. So, season 2, fingers crossed. Now, I would say that the show is probably not best to binge. I'm not saying that you can't. I did. But I don't know. I think it might be a little bit more enjoyable if there's some time to sit with each episode. It was released weekly, but I didn't watch it till now. But I don't think you necessarily have to wait weekly. I think maybe an episode a day. You can get through it in 8 days. I don't know. I don't know whether it would make it more enjoyable or not. I'm just thinking it might be. I don't know. But like I said, there are some minor intense scenes that could be a little frightening for some younger kids. So keep that in mind if you have young kids. I think honestly, if you have any child under the age of 5, maybe don't show it to them. But 5 to, I guess maybe 7. I don't know. I'm really bad with ages for kids and what they should and shouldn't watch. But I think honestly, if you're a parent with, a young kid, check it out yourself maybe before letting them watch it. If your kid is really able to tolerate that stuff, then it's perfectly family friendly. But if your kid gets a little scared at intense type scenes, maybe hold off for a few years. Yeah, so all those scenes that are, I guess, intense, I have in the minor spoilers section if you want to go check that part of the video out again, if you skipped over it or whatever. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Okay, I'm just gonna end this video. So, let me know. Did you watch Mysterious Benedict Society, and what did you think of it? Are you hoping it gets a season 2? Did you happen to read the book series? And how well did the show adapt the book series? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you liked this video, you can leave a like, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and turn on the notification bell so you can be notified when I upload my latest videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in another video. Bye, guys!